Sounds. I'm Nick Chuney.
And I'm Devin Meissner. Welcome to the We're Talkin' RTF Talk Show, where we will explore opportunities of radio, television, and film major here at Rowan University.
Our goal is to reach you, the students. Whether you're already involved with RTF or interested in transitioning from another major, we're here to provide you with the necessary information you'll need to thrive in this field while attending Rowan and pursuing your career.
That's right, Nick. You know, I wish I had someone like us to coach me through the decision here at majoring in RTF.
Well, isn't it great we're here now for the future students?
It sure is, and for our own benefit, too. Folks, we have a number of guests tonight that we will provide you with some great information, opportunities that will benefit you as you progress further through the field in RTF here. We will be speaking with professors, alumni, upperclassmen, and master students.
Due to some of our guests' busy schedules, they're not able to make it in person, but don't worry. Our Zoom reporter, Luke LaCour, is on the case. Over to you, Luke.
Nick, here with Dr. Kim Acas, Program Coordinator of the Diana King Masters in Television Studies. How are you doing today, Dr. Acas?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Luke. How are you?
I'm pretty good. My first question for you is, how long have you been a professor here at Rowan University?
I'm coming up to the end of my 4th year. I started in September 2019, just before the pandemic.
That's awesome. And where were you before Rowan, if I may ask?
I've been based in England for most of my career, well, all of my career except for here. So my last job was at the University of Hertfordshire in Hatfield, which is, very like Rowan. It's very kind of similar kind of university. And then before that, I've been at Manchester Metropolitan University, Royal Holloway, University of London, and before that, it was one university, but 3 names. So it was the Polytechnic of North London, then it was the University of North London, and then it was London Metropolitan.
What are some of the courses that you teach here at this university?
At the moment, so the 2 undergraduate courses I teach are TV History and Appreciation of the 50s, and another one is TV History and Appreciation of the 60s and 70s. And we've just launched the Masters in Television Studies, and on that course I'm currently teaching TV and Identity, or Identity on TV, the name changed, and TV Genre and History. So I teach TV in many different ways. Yeah,
that's awesome. So I understand, like, your field is TV. So what is your favorite out of all of those to teach?
Oh, that's a really good question. Every single one that I'm doing, I'm really enjoying. I go, well, that's my favorite course. So I've just currently finished TV History and Appreciation 60s and 70s. And I actually genuinely really love that course because it's such an interesting decade and a half. We go to the mid 70s. And the master's courses, it's my first time out with them. So I'm always really nervous when I'm doing something for the first time. So the undergraduate courses, it was the 3rd time out. And that's when I always think courses really start to work. So today it's TV of the 60s and 70s.
Awesome. I loved it too.
Oh, good. I'm really glad. Yeah. But I think the thing is I love Identity on Television because it gives us a chance to really kind of drill down into how representation works on American TV. And that's, I think, really important for everybody to understand.
That's great. I agree. Okay. And what inspired you to be a professor in this field of television?
Oh, that is another really good question. So I was just been thinking about this morning, is that as you probably know, I absolutely love television. I just think it's like one of the best inventions ever, except for the wheel. But I think the thing is I look back and I always used to watch TV with my dad. So I kind of grew up watching so many shows, Doctor Who, Tom and Jerry, all the American shows as well as the British ones. And it's always been my comfort. So I like to sit and just let it wash over me as well as to study it. And I was just really lucky that I was in the right place at the right time. I did my undergraduate degree was in English and film. And then I ended up majoring in film. And then I did a master's in film and television studies. And while I was doing that, I discovered that you could study TV. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So I kind of went from there, but I was still mainly teaching film, but kind of creeping television into my film courses. And then what happened was a colleague of mine, well, it's more than a colleague, she's a really, really good friend of mine, saw The Sopranos and Sex and the City when HBO kind of really broke out. And we wrote an article on The Sopranos. It was the first thing we ever did. And so from there, TV studies became bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we edited a whole series of books on TV. And even up to my last job, I was still teaching a little bit of film. And it's at Rowan that I've been able to focus on television.
Yeah.
Every iteration of it. So I've got a great excuse to watch TV all the time.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of TV too. That's why I've taken every class that you've offered, 50s and 60s and 60s and 70s.
Oh, excellent.
What are some of the required skills a person would need in order to succeed in this kind of industry, in the radio, TV, film industry?
Just a love of the subject, to be honest. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, you can learn all the technical skills that you want. And this is why I love teaching television history to production students, because it doesn't matter how many skills you've got, and it doesn't matter how much you can color correct and do post-production and sound and that kind of thing. You need a passion for the subject. You need to know a history. So whether it's radio, TV, or film, it doesn't matter. You have to really inhabit the subject and love it, because if you're going to make money from it, you're going to be up against a lot of other people.
That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You have to be enthusiastic and just absorb yourself in the industry you want to work in.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's great. I love that answer. What memorable projects or experiences have you had during your career?
Oh, that's a great question. So the most memorable one has got to be mine, and is Dr. Janet McCabe is my writing partner, my partner in crime, as I call her. Our first edited collection was on Sex and the City, and that has really got to be the high point, because we were invited to go on TV, we were on radio, we were in newspapers.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It wasn't always good criticism that we got. We got some really bad reviews, particularly from journalists who thought we were kind of encroaching on their territory, and what were these academics doing, talking about TV in the way we were. But just to actually have had that experience was just incredible. I remember coming out to New York for a Sopranos conference and being interviewed in Central Park, fresh off the plane, by a Canadian broadcasting company. And it was like I, literally stepped off the plane, got to the hotel, and then went to Central Park in my Sex and the City frock. And yeah, that was quite amazing. I mean, I love all of that, the promotion of the book and everything. Oh God, there's so many things, highlights of my, in terms of students, I don't know if I've talked to your class about this, but I was telling my master's class, it was last week, when a student gets how to write an essay and gets to write them well. Mm-hmm. That always gives me such a buzz to see students go from here to here over the course of their degree. Finding other people that love TV. Oh, at the Sopranos conference, I met Uncle Junior from the Sopranos. That was a bit of a high point. Yeah. So, I mean, really, there's been so many that, what a gift this career has been. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love, he's like the best character, one of the best.
So honestly, he so is. And what was really weird when we met him, he talked about his family lives in London, not 10 minutes away from where I come from in London.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's like me.
It's a small world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he talks to us like a long time about Turnpike Lane and Manor House and like all those places. And it was like, wow, Uncle Junior is talking to me about where I live.
Local.
Yeah, exactly. It was
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's great.
Yeah, but I mean, I could be here all day talking about really good things. So, I mean, it has just been marvelous and wonderful to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. My final question. What advice would you give students who are interested in pursuing a career in either radio, TV, or film?
Oh, just immerse yourself in the subjects. I mean, it's something, again, I don't know if I say this, if I've said this to you when you've been in my course, but what I usually say to first year students is, look, forget everything your mum and dad said. Forget that you've got to be doing your homework and not watching television. Watching TV is your homework now.
Exactly.
And, watch as much as you can and spend as much time just immersing yourself in the subject. And that then will, I undoubtedly, get you the job that you want, just because you know so much about it.
That's perfect. I love that answer. Thank you, Dr. Acast. Great interview. Back to Nick and Devin in the studio. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Luke. Well, wow, that was some useful information, huh?
It sure was, Devin. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Respect. Ah, you're late. Again. Just go sit down, Rachel.
That's not his name.
Yeah, that's not his name.
I'll get her name right when she shows up on time.
Man, it's okay. Screw that guy.
Yeah, don't even worry about it.
College can feel like a never-ending cycle of stress and deadlines. It's easy to lose track of time and fall behind. But if you don't take control of your schedule, time will control you. Start by creating a to-do list and scheduling your tasks using a planner or a calendar. This will help you stay on track and avoid the crushing weight of last-minute cramming. Don't let the pressure of college consume you. Take breaks and recharge your batteries. A short walk or a fun activity can help you stay focused and productive. With good time management, you can conquer your to-do list and crush your goals.
Put your cart back when you're done. It's really not that hard.
Our next guest is senior RTF student and studio lab assistant Shomer. How you doing today, Shomer?
Doing good, guys. How you guys doing?
It's great to have you on your show.
Thank you.
What I want to know is, what's the most memorable, interesting experience you've had so far here?
Dang, I mean, I've only been here for 2 years, so I mean, like...
Well, I'm sure you've had one instance that you've thought was the most crazy thing.
The most crazy thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not that many. Like, I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff, but it's nothing like, too out the thing.
Okay.
But in terms of like, things like memorable experiences, I would say like definitely working within RTN and Rowan Radio. That's probably like legit all of my memories that I can get from here, and the most memorable ones actually for sure.
Okay.
So my first question for you is, why did you become a lab assistant?
Well, I became a lab assistant because, one, I thought I could possibly do it, and then two, I actually liked what Casey was doing. I actually liked how he conducted the class. I liked how he was a pretty cool person, and I thought about him like being his lab assistant, of like how much stuff that he knows and how he explained things and how he really goes into depth in things and how fast he says it. It was very interesting to have all that information and be able to spiel it out and to say it in a way for people to understand and get, and it kind of inspired me to want to be that same person, because I like to help people out just as much as he does. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to know, do you think you've learned anything or understood something better because you taught it to someone else?
Yes, yes and no at the same time, because I learn just as much from the next person as much as I'm teaching somebody.
Okay.
So I can teach somebody something that I may already know, but they may have a different approach to it, which actually may help me in the long run. Because it's like, you look at something from one spectrum for a very long time, you don't know how it would look another way until you try it. So that's one thing I definitely could say.
So kind of going off of that, my question is, has being a lab assistant gave you any new connections or opportunities anywhere else?
Well, it gave me the ability to know that I can probably like teach somebody something. Like as much as I've had a couple of you guys to be my lab, come into my sessions, and I always told you, bear with me. I'm sorry for any inconvenience, but you guys stuck with me, and that helped me get through that learning curve. And it actually did help me make a lot of new, to know a lot of new people, and to see like what everybody else is involved in, and to see how everybody's different and what they really specialize in. You never know, this person is really good at TD rather than camera than you. Somebody's better at camera than they are at graphics, you know? So, and it's really cool to see everybody's specialty within each thing.
So what advice would you give someone that wants to be a TA?
A TA?
Well, yeah, excuse me.
Well, lab assistant, I mean, I would say do it, honestly, because you learn so much more, because my thing was to learn how to be a talent on television, just to be in front of the camera, but the more versatile you are within any aspect of media landscape, you are gonna go farther than most people than you would think. Because if you're just stuck in one landscape of just wanting to be a talent, how could you ever grow in anything else? So I honestly think that being a lab assistant taught me so many different various things, that my skills are now more expanded than what I thought before. I thought I was just one-dimensional, but now I'm just very versed. Not an expert, but very versed.
Almost.
Yeah.
So maybe our last question here, but take us through how you became a lab assistant, kind of the process of going into that.
Okay, so I was in my room and it was very dark, and I went through my phone. I'm playing. But no, I seen the opportunity from Casey, and I enjoyed Casey's class. I seen it in the email that he sent out, and there were multiple people that applied to be lab assistants, but I thought this would look something good on my resume. Also, would teach me something that I would I would love to learn in the studio more. That was always fascinating to me. So, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Like kind of take us through the process of how you became.
Basically, yeah. So after I signed up through the email, and I was waiting for a response. This was during winter break as well, so I was just waiting for a response from Casey to see whether I was going to get it or not, because I don't know how many people were going to apply to be lab assistants. And then next thing you know, I got the email, and I was like, oh, and I see how many other people. I'm like, wow, I don't even know half of these other people, and I seen 2 people from my other class. I'm like, oh wow, they're lab assistants too. And the one thing that stood out was, and I can definitely say this about every other class, is to always, try to throw yourself out there. You want to be able, like, if it's not in your nature to help somebody, always just try to put in your way to help someone, because just as much as you're maybe struggling, you want that help, they could probably be wanting that same help from someone.
For sure. That's good advice.
Well, Shomer, thank you for taking your time and your busy schedule to come talk to us.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for coming.
You've been a blast. And now, back over to our Zoom reporter, Luke LaCourt.
Thanks, Nick. Here with Tara Bennett, author and Rowan alumni and professor. How you doing today, Tara?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Happy to have you. Hey, my first question for you is, from what years did you attend Rowan University?
Yeah, I started in 1990 and graduated in 94. It was December, but then I walked in May of 95.
Awesome. So it was Glassboro State at that time, I'm assuming?
It was my junior year, and the summer was the swap. So It literally, I still have a Glassboro sweatshirt in my closet. And then everything, was rebranded for that next semester for Rowan University. So I was there when it happened.
That's great. Follow up to that question. Were you an RTF major from the start, or did you transition later on?
No, I was. I actually was one of the, they had pretty stringent guidelines and admittance rules, and I was part of the class that got accepted. So I was really proud of that because, our area had Temple, or it had going up to NYU, and those are, very expensive schools. But Rowan's RTF program was always really well lauded for being at a small school. at the time, and I was really proud to get into the program because we had some really good distinguished alumni, and it kind of always felt like it was that little secret that if you could get in, that you were going to get an education that was way more hands-on than maybe even some of the more expensive schools. So yeah, from the very beginning, I was an RTF major.
Awesome. And what interests you to get into that industry?
I've always been a film and television nerd. My room, from a kid was full of movie posters, and I had a friend in high school that came in and saw all my novelizations, and then she was just like, "Do you read anything that isn't based on a movie?" So I was like, "Don't tell on me like that." But I had lived I lived in the area when I went to college. So I was a commuter, but before that I lived in Northern California. And so at that point I was thinking of going to film school for visual effects down in LA. But then we moved when I was in high school. And so I just knew it was going to be a big financial thing. And my proximity at the time when it was great, it worked out. But then now I was all the way on the other side of the country. So, and I loved that they had a really robust program for film, television, and radio. And I wasn't 100% sure exactly what I wanted to do. So I felt like, and I did while I was in the program, sample everything and participated heavily in all of the different specializations, and then even made a specialization where I worked with the computer animation department over in art to fill my electives with the early days of computer graphics, learning them for how to use them for television. So I kind of made it work for the things that I was interested in.
That's awesome. And what was your favorite aspect of the industry? Was it writing or television?
Yeah, I think it was film initially. That's kind of I wanted to be in film, and then I quickly realized, well, there are a lot of really great things that you can do, so don't maybe limit yourself. You kind of have these grandiose ideas of like, I'm only doing this, and really at the end of the day I just kind of wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn in an environment where I didn't have to like sit at a desk and not do anything or answer a phone for like 5 years. So when I was in the program, I ended up becoming a PA for projects with some alumni who had left our program and opened up their own business in corporate video. And I ended up doing a lot of live events with them, and I ended up doing a lot of projects in the tri-state area. So I graduated, and then 2 weeks later, they needed like a full-time temporary person to come into their office. And so I was like, I'm not going to say, hey, no, I'm going to be choosy and just do cinema. I was like, let me go. And it ended up that, they were really great with me, and let me, carry gear, set up gear, put together, an edit bay with them. I learned the early online video editing, like the precursor to Avid. I was out there producing a lot of corporate things and commercial things. And it was like, listen, you still have to learn all the things. And I worked with some cinematographers, Tony Stewart, who's done a lot of consulting for our documentary and film department. I learned from him, and he was amazing and just has an incredible eye. So I learned from like the best, and it was never, the thing you have about preconceived paths that you need to take. I think the thing that I really learned gratefully as a young graduate of our program was like, don't say no, go see what the opportunity is, and then make the best of that, and hope that, you don't have to like be snooty to yourself about like what it looks like to the outside world, because I learned a ton that ended up helping for me, like to basically make me the best professional I could be. So what I have done in my career has been never what I thought when I graduated at Rowan. I thought, that I would be producing for the rest of my life, and instead, I produce, and then I write books, and then I work with major media companies. So it all just kind of the saying, yes, give it a try, I think was an early precursor for what my career has turned into.
Okay, awesome. I completely agree. I don't think that you should steer in one direction. You should go multiple. Explore your options. Now, at your time at Rowan, were you involved in any clubs or anything? like RTN or?
Yeah, well, I did semester abroad, so that's kind of like that was kind of like a thing. And then I did we didn't really have RTN at the time.
Yeah.
So ancient. It was like the early precursors of that, but I was a lab supervisor. So as a lab supervisor, I was helping a whole lot with the TV1 and the TV2 classes, and helping them rotate through and learning all of the equipment and helping advise them with that, and then helping them with their semester projects. So that was a lot of my extra free time. And then I did a whole summer morning shift, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Rowan Radio. Wow. I did that all summer long. And then
it's a great experience though.
Yeah, it was a super great experience. And then like I said, when some jobs came up here and there as PA kind of things, I would jump on those. And, you know, it's not necessarily a club, but it was an opportunity to go like, oh, if someone recommended, like if one of our professors or someone that, you know, worked in the department, I would always, you know, raise my hand, even though I was the shy, quiet kid. It was just like, you know, I pushed myself to do some things that felt uncomfortable, because it actually gave me stuff on my resume. So
that is true. That's great. You got to put yourself out there.
You know, so many people want the normal 9-to-5 job. And I had it for a while, and I ended up going, I don't think this is for me, which is not going to be for everybody. You know, we try to teach you guys as you graduate, be prepared to be a freelancer, especially for several years. And I kind of did it in the opposite way, but then had come to make the choice that I think that's where I thrive, by the variety of things, and taking the background of all the things I've learned, and then being able to turn that into me being my own boss. And so I have been freelance by choice from 2003. I've never had another full-time go into an office job, and it's been really great for me. I'm self-motivated, which helps a lot, and I'm really good at being able to like working now and then still looking at the future, which is you have to do. And it's not for everyone. You know, I say you got to be real honest with your time management and your own self, kind of your fear, because you're like, I got to pay rent and I got to take care of stuff. And if that motivates you to like go do the work and do it well, cool. If it actually makes you like deer in headlights scared and go like, I don't know what to do, then it's probably not the right path. So, you know, it's just some real strong self-assessment, but, and that's where I am today.
Awesome. Yeah, I completely agree. Like some people want the security of the 9-to-5, but freelancing, you know, if you really got to be dedicated and you really got to be hardworking.
You do. And you got to prepare for when things get real slow, or when something unexpectedly just goes away. You know, it's a scary place to be. And the more I will say like I've been doing this for 20 years now, by choice, is that once you weather a couple of those and you can get through it and not freak yourself out too much, and, you know, kind of empower yourself. I mean, listen, man, I've had moments in my freelancing career where I've gone like, do I have to get a job at Target? Like, am I there? Like, is it like everything's looking bad? But what I ended up doing and learning how to do for myself was sowing seeds. And the seeds are go talk to people that I had worked with before, say, hey, I'm free. Do you need anything? Pitch people ideas, and then have them go, I hadn't really thought of that. And then, you know, you may do 10 things and one thing comes up. And that's all you need is the one thing. And I went through a period I did the Lost Encyclopedia book, and I thought that was going to be really big and it would just be really easy. And it just was like crickets afterwards. And then I ended up pitching to some people that had worked on that show a book for Fringe. I was like, you know what book would I want to do? And I went, I really love Fringe. I think that I have a good idea for that. And I think we could do something cool. And then they were like, oh, we know the Lost book. Of course we do. And you want to do something for Fringe? All right, let's do that. And then got me attached to a publisher. And then they ended up, it was an in-world book written by a character in the show. And they ended up putting it in the show. Wow. So the very last season of the show, the character has the book that was an idea that I'd come up with. And you just go, man, I was at my lowest point before that happened. And then that
need that one person.
You just need the one person, and you really got to dig deep and not feel bad for yourself. You just got to go out there and go, what do I got to do to put myself in someone's face and go, I know I can do the right job for you. And it's humbling and it can be scary, but, and it's not for everyone, but for me, it's been a really great thing.
One last quick question, because I only have a minute left on the recording.
Sure.
are there any projects that you're currently involved with, currently working on?
I'm working on a book that'll probably get announced a little bit later, maybe by summer.
Awesome.
Not as big as the other projects, but more of a personal project with somebody that we really respect, and constantly always just writing for, producing things for IGN, Sci-Fi, Paste magazine, and I'm always rotating. If you have Google searches of my name
Awesome.
with new stories every day. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tara, for your time. That concludes this interview. Back to Nick and Devin in the studio.
Why, thank you, Luke. Wow, Nick, Tara certainly had a successful career.
Absolutely, Devin. And how nice of her to take time out of her busy schedule to give back to the university that helped start her career.
Admirable, to say the least. For those of you who are interested in receiving a master's degree in RTF, our field reporter, Reese Anchetta, has the latest. Over to you, Reese.
Doing a few of the master's students after their first year of this new program. So what's your name?
Kevin Meeks.
What made you choose this master's program?
Well, I was kind of going back and forth on if I wanted to do a master's program. For a while I did, and then I didn't think I wanted to. And then I just found it on I think it was one of the alumni of Rowan, and it popped up on one of those feeds, and I saw it, and I was like, you know what? I want to do it.
What's your name?
Karaya Bennett.
What made you choose this master's program?
So I've always loved TV ever since I was in middle school. I was a part of our middle school production for the morning news station. Same thing with high school. I love doing production stuff at high school.
What's your name?
Jennifer McGraw.
And what drew you to this master's program?
So I feel like in a way, I've always loved writing growing up, so I somehow came full circle coming back to college. Well, no, not coming back to college, but coming to Rowan and finding a love of writing, and that pursued me to get a couple degrees in my undergrad years that had to do with a lot of writing intensive stuff. And then once I saw this program be available, I was like, that's so cool. Like, I'll be able to watch TV and write about it and write about my favorite shows.
After this first year of this new program, has anything stood out as something you really enjoyed doing?
Yeah, I loved creating characters. I love learning about, again, different types of identities. I learned about examining rhetoric and reality television shows, examining a little bit more closely, and how stuff may be edited.
I've always been a production person. I've always been this right here, behind the camera, editing, directing, and all that. So the writing aspect of it scared me to death.
So as a sports person, there's not a whole lot of sports reality shows because sports is just live entertainment itself. So being able to study a particular sports reality television show has been so eye-opening and so cool to be able to really dissect and really analyze. And I think the way that the class is taught has really helped me open my eyes to the different types of reality television that's out there.
What do you hope to do after this program?
So because sports is like my entire personality, I hope to go back into the sports journalism career. Right, be a television critic, kind of what Professor Bancooli does, kind of look at TV a little bit more with the scrutiny eye, as well as what I love about it.
This master's program is hopefully going to open up doors for me to do the same thing on the collegiate level. I would like to work in the high school for several more years, maybe start doing this, nights, and then when I retire from my high school job, I just want to teach production.
And that was our first interviews with the first cohort of this new master's program here at Rowan University. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Reese. That'll conclude this episode of Talking RTF. We hope this installment gives you guys the insight and knowledge required to become accustomed, successful, and ready for your future as RTF students. I've been Nick Tooney.
And I'm Devin Meissner. And we hope you guys join us next time for a very exciting episode that involves 2 live interviews from Quentin Tarantino and the absolute greatest professor in Rowan history, Casey Holcomb. Have a good night.